Murder rates across the U.S. are rising. A recent report shows major cities saw a 33% jump in homicides in 2020. According to the Major Cities Chiefs Association, the vast majority of the 66 largest police jurisdictions saw a spike in violent crime last year, and that trend is expected to continue. Police data from these major cities show spikes in murder rates in 2021 compared to the same time last year. Homicide rates historically jump during the summer, leading some experts to worry about the months ahead. Everette Penn joins me now. He is a professor of criminology at the University of Houston, Clear Lake. Everette, welcome. Thanks very much for being with us. Is it possible to quantify the factors that might be contributing to the spike in violent crime across the nation?
I think we can look at, and thank you so much for having me, I think we can look at COVID-19 perhaps being summer time that so many of us see as a time in which crime increases. We've been in this COVID-19 time period for the last year. You're looking at people staying in, getting out, doing things, being around, and that rise has perhaps made summertime conditions that we usually see once a year lasting for an entire year. When you add that together with what I call us perhaps looking at what we saw in the 1990s, what I call New Jack City time frame, where you had gangs, drugs, and guns coming together. You have three elements that are coming together now. You have the elements of lack of trust that people have with the police department and each other, the need that people have to safeguard themselves, and also the guns. The tremendous amount of guns that were purchased the last few years are now mounting together that when arguments take place, when discussions or dialogue is not taking place, people are moving from 0 to 100 and using their guns to have tremendous violence, and we're seeing the effects of that today.
Well, 2020, of course, also saw a wave of protests over police brutality. How does such a public display impact community policing?
When you don't have when you have a lack of legitimacy, lack of trust in the police department, the question becomes, why follow the law? If the law is not doing what I believe should take place, then legitimacy in policing is taking place, legitimacy in community, the legitimacy in the bonds that hold community together are falling apart. Think about it there, it makes for a difficult situation in which part of society. We need police, there's no question about it, but we need good policing. We need community policing, 21st century policing. Let us not forget about the President's Task Force of 21st Century Policing taking place 2015 timeframe. I believe police departments need to brush that off of the shelves that they have and look at that document as a way to move forward from this clash between citizens and police occurring today.
I want to ask you about police reform. This was, of course, sparred in the wake of George Floyd's murder. It's struggling to get traction on Capitol Hill. Where do you see the most pressing needs for reform, from policing to the prison system?
Well, one of the programs that I lead is called the Teen and Police Service Academy. And what we do there is bring together the most at-risk youth along with police. I know that there's a great argument that exists that police officers should not be in the schools. Our thought is the right police officers should be in schools, those that move forward with dialogue, trust, legitimacy, building opportunities for our youth to have voice. So putting money into programs that have the opportunity to look at policing in a different way, 21st century policing, is the way that our national government, local governments need to move forward. We need to think of policing as being that of the greatest public servant. I one time had a chief say to me, and it was quite accurate, from 9 to 5, you have all your local government. But who's the local government from 5 p.m. to 9 a.m.? It's the police department. We 911, and a stranger is going to come to assist us. But the police can't do everything. So therefore, we do have to have some sort of understanding that there are going to be needs for other services to take place. Police cannot do everything. So that money that's often seen as defund the police, let's just think of it as redirecting for public safety to allowing for a support system so the police officer does not always have to be the answer for the concerns that we have in the general public safeties.
Professor, you said something a moment ago. I just want to make sure I heard you correctly, that you do think there could be a place for police in schools, because as you know, that's a controversial, in some quarters, statement to make, given what we know about the ways in which Black and brown children are often disciplined at higher rates compared to white children. Can you just talk about that a little bit? Because I think for some viewers that may be counterintuitive based on what we know about some of the systemic biases that children of color encounter.
For the school administration, police officers to understand each. It's very important for the school administrator and the police officers to understand their role. If the administrators understand that the discipline needs to take place, the education needs to take place on their side, that's one issue. The police officers in the school can play an important role in providing a positive relationship in only dealing with cases in which the law has been broken. Here in my home of Houston, Texas, we've seen some great examples of that there, but it requires proper training. It requires understanding what each of them has a responsibility to do and working together for the positiveness. Like I said before, Teen and Police Service Academy brings that positive relationship between police and citizens to break that social distance, to allow for greater understanding so that you can have legitimacy, trust, and the other elements of 21st century take place. So right policing, trained police officers is the way to go that we've seen very positive for the Teen and Police Service Academy.
All right, these are conversations that are no doubt going to be continuing. Everette Penn. Everette, thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so very much for having me.